and I liked the job. There were a lot of perks to it. Hey guys, this is Josh with Update Channel, and in this video we're going to be discussing why I gave up a six-figure paying sales job to be a mechanic again, and kind of the whole decision process behind that, why I took a sales job, what my thoughts were with it. I was going to do kind of one where I'm sitting with the white background and stuff, but I figured it'd be a little more dynamic if I actually shot it at work here. And you might be wondering, well, why am I just sitting here at work? Why am I not working? Well, I'm actually waiting for a truck to warm up to verify a complaint. And the truck I'm working on is Andy's truck, and he'll know who he is, but basically he wanted me to look at his truck. It has a couple problems. Someone had put a cylinder head on it and then an oil leak. And also his coolant temperature gauge seems to not ever get hot, so we're going to be troubleshooting that. So first thing, I'll show you what I already fixed, which was the oil leak, pretty simple, and then show you what I'm doing, and then I'll start discussing the meat of the video. Also, destruction of the week in this one. So here we have Andy's big cat, and it had an oil leak on the front structure, and all it was someone had left one of the bolts out of the front structure, one that holds the power steering pump. You can see where the oil leak was if you know where the timing cover goes to the backing plate on the front structure on these. And the black-headed bolt there was one I had put in place of the missing one. Fairly easy fix, but it's just something that shouldn't happen. Whoever put this head on should not have missed that, because if that had pushed the gasket out, well, then you'd be in a whole lot of trouble, because guess what? Then you'd have to do the whole front timing cover seal, which is a big job. Now, what I'm looking at here is a thermostat housing, or regulator housing, and there's your coolant temperature. So it looks like his temp gauge is not reading correctly here. You can see it there. So we're going to call that 125. Remember, there's a different setting unit for that one opposed to what's on the computer. And if you look on the computer, we're at 149. It's basically 150. So it's definitely reading not correctly. At least one of them is. So we're going to let it get warm, see if the stats open, to see which one is accurate. I'm going to say the cat one is typically the more accurate one. Also, the cat one was showing ambient temperature of 72 degrees before I started the truck, and that is basically the temperature outside, so that's probably the more accurate one. You like my hat? It's a rather sunny day out today. I just got this hat that, got this lanyard deal here. Pretty nice hat. Anyway, so when was I a salesman? I mean, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know, I've been making mechanic videos for roughly 6 years. Well, if you noticed, 2019 and 2020 didn't do a lot of mechanic videos, and the reason for that, I was doing more of like the classes and discussing topics, not really doing how-to videos, was because I wasn't a mechanic for that time period. I took a job around Christmas of 2018, and that is no longer a mechanic. It tied into it. It was something called a TEPS manager, which TEPS is kind of hard to explain, but it's basically truck engine parts. And what you do is every cat dealership has one of these, and what they do is they handle the Peterbilt dealership, the Kenworth dealerships, Freightliner, International. If they're selling cat truck engine parts or doing cat truck engine work, then you are their go-between between the cat dealership and their dealership. It's kind of a weird role because a lot of these places like your Peterbilts and your Kenworths are actively competing against the cat dealership for work and for parts sales, but they're also buying these parts from the cat dealership through Caterpillar at a discount. It's kind of confusing. But it wasn't just the TEPS dealer, or TEPS manager job. It was also a PSSR job, which if you're familiar with cat dealers, that's like a product service support rep. And what they do is mostly go out, talk to customers about their equipment, or in my case, truck engines and trucks, try to get work into the shop or through the dealership. So kind of a weird role because I represented our competition, the Peterbilts and Kenworths, but I also was trying to take work away from them and bring it into our cat dealership. But anyways, it paid really well. And I was offered the job because the guy that had before me was retiring, and the sales manager thought I'd be a good fit for it. And I liked the job. There were a lot of perks to it. The pay was much higher. It was salary plus commission, a lot more freedom. Most of my days were basically just driving around, talking to different customers, answering emails, helping the TEPS dealers a lot of times with their sys logins. If there was a part problem or something weird technical they needed help with, I would try to help, or get Caterpillar involved or the dealership involved with a TC. And it was a good job. I can't complain. I mean, if you were to write down what the job is of being a mechanic compared to being what the job I had was, probably almost everyone would pick the sales job more than the mechanic job. I mean, the mechanic job, it pays less. You are basically stuck in the shop all day. You're working on dirty equipment. I mean, you have to buy your own tooling. The other job, they paid for your vehicle. There was traveling. You know, you're going out to lunches, dinners with customers. That's paid for by the company. It's like a dream job. The problem is, I'm good at talking, or speaking, I should say. Obviously, I make a lot of videos where I'm speaking all the time, but I'm not someone that's always tight-lipped, but I would say I'm more passionate about fixing stuff, and at least that's how my mind is. And I kind of self-identify as a mechanic, not a salesperson. Not that salespeople aren't needed. Like, every dealership has to have a TEPS dealer or a TEPS manager. Every dealership needs PSSRs, or else they lose a lot of business. But to me, like, what I value is being technical, being proficient, being a very good mechanic. I love being a mechanic. I liked my sales job, but I love being a mechanic. Now, that's not to say every job's great. You know, some days, you know, you cross-thread bolts, all sorts of crap, and it's just a bad day. But I would say, get back to checking the actual truck, the work at hand here. We are shooting this with an infrared thermometer. This is your coolant temperature. We're 194, we'll say. Now, this is coming out of the oil cooler, so it's going to be a slightly different temperature than the actual coolant temperature sensor's reading by, we'll say, anywhere within 5 degrees should be pretty accurate. So, remember, we had 194 on the temp gun. And what are we showing? Well, that's pretty much dead on 175. What is the cat one showing? 189. So, we're going to go with the cat one. So, this job's so great, why did I give it up? Well, basically, we were moving out of state. And if you don't know much about cat dealerships, they're territorial. So, the dealer I was at, I'm not going to say its name, but it was in Nevada, I was moving out of state. I was moving to a different state other than Nevada. And where I was going to, they had other jobs available, but close to where we were moving to, they had a tech job for a truck. They called it level 4. Now they call it a master truck mechanic. Anyway, the name doesn't matter. But I didn't apply for any of the sales jobs. I applied for the mechanic job because I knew that's what I wanted to go back to. Now, my original plan was always kind of to be a mechanic, and then maybe around 40 years of age, I would transition out of it. Maybe be a parts guy or a TC. If you don't know what that is, that's a technical communicator. And they're kind of a go-between between CAT and if there's any technical problems, I think I'd be good at that. A trainer, something like that. But to tell you the truth, getting back into it, I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm not 40 yet, but we're getting there. And I think I'm going to stick with this for a while. My direct supervisor is actually a working lead, and we'll just say he is not 40. He's a little past 40, and he still likes being a mechanic, and he still makes it work. He's very knowledgeable, and he's a hard worker. So I think I'm just going to stick with being a mechanic for a while until maybe I just get burned out of it, or maybe there's a great position that opens up that I would be fit for. And, you know, it's not to discourage sales, but I got to tell you, I didn't respect myself as a salesman. The course, there's like the used car salesman analogy that a lot of people have. It's not really like that at a cat dealer that much, especially on product support, because mostly product support you're dealing with customers, problems, more technical stuff. It's not really like, hey, I'll buy a bulldozer, I'll throw in a free truck or free track, whatever like that. It's not that type of sales job. But I didn't respect myself, basically. I love being a mechanic. I bring value to people by fixing their equipment. That's why people value me. Anyone can talk to you about doing a quote or anything like that. I mean, there are some people that are very bad at talking to customers, but I'm glad I went back to being a mechanic. You know, it was a pay decrease, but I'm happier overall. You know, money's nice to have, but it doesn't make you happy. I was no happier when I was making more money than I am now. And making YouTube videos helps as well. You know, people donate. I get some money through Amazon, the affiliate links. YouTube also helps out. So, you know, overall, I do not regret going back to being a mechanic at all. And, you know, if you're wavering on something you really love to do versus something that maybe you'll make more money on, after taking the role, I'd say, you know, if you really love what you do, I'd say stick with it. The money is nice, but at least for me, like, I'm not super material. Like, if I make a lot more money, I'm not going to go buy a bigger truck or a boat or anything like that. I'm really pick something you're good at that brings value to you and those around you, and in the long run, I think you'll be happier, right? Let's get into Destruction of the Week, and thanks for watching. If you find this in your 3304 oil pan, it's probably not tinsel. So this is what's causing the destruction of the week. This is a Cat 3304 diesel engine. Made a video on 3300 series engines not too long ago. And what's wrong with this one? Well, unfortunately for this engine, we have what we call a spun rod bearing. Now the connecting rod there, it always has a bearing, and this one was spinning around the journal, which is obviously not good. Destroys the rod, destroys the bearing, sends metal throughout the system, and the worst part is it damages the crankshaft. So, pretty bad news for this engine. Thanks for watching.